Guys, she looks good. They finally did it. They released a starter champion as a legendary. Check this out. All right, before we get this started, I just want to reiterate what I said in the intro. She looks amazing. She looks so cool. Such a cool, badass, Valkyrie-esque, high elf, angelic warrior type of vibe going on. She looks sick. Look at that bow, dude. Zeus himself gave her this bow. We all like this game for the graphics, so it's okay to sit on that for a second, but she does look fantastic. All right, let's get into the video. Let's see what Nub Rays has to say about this new champion, who, if you didn't already know, I'm sure you do, but if you didn't already know, is currently active as a fragment collector fusion. Let's get into this.
Hello everyone, Nubkex here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. I'm back. I'm finally back, hopefully, fingers crossed, with a big news story because we have information on the next fusion, which is starting next week, the 10th of March, next Friday, so a week from recording and publishing of this video. And
it took me a sec to get to reacting to this video.
The first legendary version of one of the starter champions, and it is Supreme Elhain. And just to confirm, guys, this is going to be a special anniversary champion fragment event. So I don't know exactly what that means. I mean, typically speaking, the normal fragment fusions where you collect 100 fragments to make the champion, they're pretty easy compared to a standard fusion where you have to collect a bunch of rares and fuse epics and level them all up and blah, blah, blah. What does a special anniversary champion event mean? Or fragment mean? I don't know. Maybe they're going to make it really horrible. Who the heck knows?
I think it just means, because we're in it now, they're pairing her with other champion releases, and she's happening in the middle of kind of a surge in the 4th anniversary event. So the 4th anniversary event has been going on for a minute, but they did some stuff like a couple days over this weekend, basically, like yesterday or the day before it started. I'm recording this on Friday night. And it was like some nice promo codes and some just different packs in the store. It was kind of like I said, it's been going on for a couple weeks, but they just kind of did a surge right as they released people's, what their past year in raid had looked like or whatever, the account summary up to this point. So I don't know that it's something super profound that they're doing, saying that she's part of the 4th anniversary event, but she is happening during it.
But anyway, here she is, and this is what she's doing. We do have a blurb from Plarium. Let's take a quick look at this first. Supreme Elhain will be a PvP-oriented champion with mechanics that can counter some parts of the current arena meta. Let's take a closer look at her skills. We're going to see this ourselves. So we're A1.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Plarium. Thank you for your blurb. But we actually play the game. It seems like, respectfully, that maybe no one who writes this stuff has even installed Raid on a device that they own or ever played it for 5 minutes. So we'll just we'll take your word for it, but we'll decide. I guess we won't take your word for it. We'll decide ourselves whenever the content creators and players get a hold of her if she's gonna counter some parts of the current arena meta.
Double hitter, each hit transferring a random debuff. For A2 will be an AoE attack, doing more damage for each debuff on the target. Pair her with a champion who places debuffs to get the maximum damage. I mean, pretty straightforward, but watch out for polymorph in the enemy team. So I do have some concerns about this. We'll come back to it. But the cool thing about this, it does reset her A3 if she kills an enemy. A3, she's going to ignore ally protection, strength, and shield, and give an extra turn if she kills an enemy, so she can counter bolster set meta, ally protection champions like Nekret the Great, Ursica, Kyoku, which is pretty cool. And she can get into a killing cycle because of the A2 and the A3 comboing together, giving extra turns, then resetting the move that gives an extra turn. And her passive makes
feeling like PvP for sure.
Attack. Therefore, high-tier arena champions like Nekret.
I can't think of anywhere that you give a shit about ignoring ally protection except for arena or shields for that matter. I guess there might be some spots where mobs or waves have a champion that does a shield skill, or I don't know if Kriska's in any. I can't remember. I feel like he's got to be, but nobody cares about a champion that just for that one wave, So she's definitely, her kit is at least intended, whether or not it will be good or proficient, we shall see, but it's at least intended to be in PvP for sure with those specific buffs that she's ignoring with her A3.
Correct. The Grace,
Hopefully it
Mighty
smacks.
Uko, Taras,
I feel like it will.
Death Knight, Harima, etc. won't be able to decrease her attack. That being said, I mean, Taras' passive, Harima's passive and stuff are still going to... Plus, all of what Nekret does is still going to do its thing. And she also does 20...
I don't know. I could be making a fool of myself here, but I don't know what he means there. All of what Nekret does is going to do its thing. Nekret has an ally attack. He has a no accuracy required, low chance to land an A1 on a... decrease attack on a triple hit A1 attack. And then he has his passive that puts protective buffs on the champion with the least HP at the beginning of every round in a battle, and she ignores everything he puts on except block debuffs, but that's not a damage mitigation buff. So she ignores his ally protection, his strength, and his shields. Now, if it said remove, then he would still counter her because he has a protected ally protection, but ignoring it, I'm not exactly sure what Nub meant there. I feel like he's a smart raid player, so I feel like I'm missing something, but that confuses me. Anyway, let's see. Let's move on.
50% more damage to enemies whose attack is lower than hers.
Which is like everyone, if you build her well.
If we take a look at this, you can see it even more clearly, but that is the summary. So yeah, what do we think of her? Void Legendary. So first of all, I would say out of the bat, that makes her for a lot of players a very, very appealing investment.
Yes.
Something that might be worth going for.
I agree.
I think people, generally speaking, really underrate the value of just a good Void nuker in legendary form. That's something that's really useful to put into Arena. So let's say, for example, right now, I'd say for a lot of players, Rhonda is probably your best Arena nuker. How will Elhain stack up to Rhonda? Well, we'll look at that again when we look at the skills in more detail here. But I think that generally speaking, even if Rhonda ends up doing more damage, because we don't have the exact damage multipliers, the fact that Elhain is still Void, does give her an advantage.
It does. It gives her an edge
against teams that Rhonda's
awesome, but
like Pythion, Ultimate Death Knight, these really common champions.
It's just an aspect that Rhonda doesn't have. And yeah, I mean, there's all different types of people with all different types of pulls, all different levels of account progression, but it's kind of just the basic sexy in raid to get a Void attack champion. Or I guess a Void defense nuker as well, but I'm pretty sure most of us that haven't spent $10,000 on the game have more attack gear or have just had our brains wired to look harder for gear that could roll to be good attack gear than defense gear. That's for sure the case on my account, but I don't think I'm alone in that. But either way, a nuker, let's just say that, and HP being maybe one of the harder ones to build. So an attack or defense nuker that's Void, that anyone can achieve who's able to participate in this event is awesome. I only remember one other Void champion since I've started playing, because I played after the Tormund fusion. I believe Vlad the Nightborn is the only other Void legendary. I may be forgetting someone, but off the top of my head, he's the only Void legendary since I started playing over 2 years ago that they have released. He was also a fragment collector, but even as a fusion, either one, either type of fusion, she's the only one I remember since him. And at the time of release, he was a bit underwhelming for a lot of people. He got vaulted for me, not because I hated him, but just because I didn't have a use for him at the time. He has since gotten buffed and is much better, but I think that this could be a god tier champion for a lot of newer, or even like I've been playing for a little while, but I haven't kind of gotten over that hump yet. Those types of accounts are going to love her, and I honestly think that her being a Void legendary attack, obviously she's going to be a legendary. It's rare that they do a fusion for epics, but with her being a legendary Void attack champion, that to me, it makes her have a higher likelihood that a whale or a really fleshed out account is going to look at her with some interest, because as far as attack champions go, unless she hits like a wet noodle, that's as good as it gets. Let's go back to the video.
Elhain is going to do well. So yeah, this A1 exemplar of strikes, double hitter, each hit transferring a random debuff. This seems pretty bad. To me, it does seem like this will require accuracy. And like for an arena,
I was going to say that. Like, I doubt that her kit is going to require accuracy. So that's just so not a good ability to put accuracy on a champion that you otherwise don't need to build it for. But we'll see as we look through her abilities. But assuming that she's not a debuffer, and looking here, there's no, she doesn't inflict any debuffs or have any turn meter mechanics at all. She's just a straight up nuker. So good Lord, who's building accuracy on her for that A1? It's just okay. Kind of, it would have been cool if they gave her something unique about it, but it is what it is. It's just very nondescript.
in a nuker, nothing else needs accuracy. You're not gonna run
Yep.
accuracy, so it's just gonna be a double hitter,
Yep.
which is probably fine. I actually don't know if it procs polymorph or not. Someone in the comments, let us know. I've been sick. My brain does not work. I don't know. Will polymorph proc even if she has no accuracy, just because it's like a resistance check, as it were? Because that would kind of suck, but it's kind of a filler move anyway, really.
I am not super versed in polymorph, but I'm 99% sure that that is a blessing, a legendary blessing that you put on basically like go second or defensive arena champions. They don't have to be defensive in nature. Like they could be attack, they could be support, whatever, but the champions that are going to be on a defense, and you have like a certain range, depending on how many stars of the blessing you have, percentage chance to turn the person who's trying to debuff you into a sheep. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So he's mentioning here, is it going to create a situation where basically anyone would resist her, but because she has the ability to do something that requires accuracy, that it's going to read it as an attempt to debuff and proc polymorph and potentially turn her into a sheep? That's what he's referring to there.
She's not going to do it that often. Let None Live then, her A2.
Yeah, hopefully she's not doing it A1 at all.
Buffed AoE. All of her skills, by the way, getting 20% extra damage from books. So AoE attack, 10% more damage for each debuff.
That's pretty good damage from
target and resetting her A3. So we'll see how hard this hits. It's hard to tell. And I'd say once a few debuffs are out there, this is likely to
Wow, resetting the cooldown. So assuming with her being a void legendary that this should be able to easily kill, even if it's not top 4 champions in the game, this should be able to easily kill at least an enemy. So you will fully reset the cooldown. So assuming her kit, he's about to get to her A3, but it's a single target attack. Assuming that it's a sniper shot and is very likely going to kill whoever she hits with it, then she's going to go into, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, my apologies. She gets an extra turn off the A3 if you haven't already read that on the screen. So she would then go into her A2, which is an AoE, and she would have to not kill any of the remaining enemies to not fully reset her crack shot. So it won't give her an extra turn. She won't be able to loop, until the whole team is dead. But she basically gets her crack shot skill, then her Let None Live skill, and then as soon as she comes back around to getting a turn, as long as she's not killed, she'll have crack shot again. There's some promise there, I think.
Very hard. I think one of the issues is that it can be difficult to get lots of debuffs up. Again, I'm thinking for a typical player, for most players, a very common combo, Madame Ceres is going to combo very well. So you've got your Madame Ceres.
That's who I thought.
Maybe in high accuracy.
I would use her.
Or something going right before Supreme Elhain goes. Madame Ceres strips their buffs off, puts decrease attack, decrease defense.
Yep.
That's 2
so
debuffs,
2 on each that she lands it on.
20% extra damage. That's pretty powerful. I mean, for me, I didn't pull Madame Ceres for over 2 years, so not something I could have used.
That's crazy.
Still, you get sort of.
But I still don't have a skull crown,
Mighty
so
Ugo could be like a decent sort of combo as well. Some sort of buff strip champion with debuffs could be quite strong with her. Crack shot then the A3, the single target attack.
It'd be like a really for fun type of team, but like I wonder if you could put someone like a Calvalax in and get like a ton of 4 debuffs, I think it is, on each enemy at the start of his turn as like a free passive. I don't know. It could be interesting to play with people who do buffs that aren't really that relevant. Debuffs that aren't really that relevant in arena, but give them a high number of debuffs, and then have her hit for it doesn't say it's capped. Have her hit for 60% more damage on everybody. God, she killed the whole, she'd one shot. Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of hope the skill smacks with no debuffs, though. You put debuffs always in arena, but you get what I'm saying. I hope that it smacks without needing more than your usual 1 to 2 debuffs, because if it doesn't, it might be kind of weak. We'll see.
That ignores ally protection, strengthen, and shield, and gives an extra turn if she kills an enemy. Mm-hmm. I think this is a really good move. This is definitely her best move. These are very common buffs in the arena. And
super cool that it grants an extra turn
to hit through to actually kill people with. But I think this is actually pretty appealing. Obviously, she's got no way to deal with Stone Skin. Stone Skin is going to still frustrate her. But it frustrates a lot of people, really, in the arena. No way around it. But yeah, this hits through a lot of stuff, which is good.
Everyone but bomb champions and a couple champs that ignore Stone Skin.
Mithrala Lifebane, very common on defensive teams. she's bringing in the strengthen and the shield.
Yep,
So I'd say
on the
that's a
same
very
skill.
common champion you're going to see constantly. She's going to help you hit through. Pythion obviously does bring in a bit of a strengthen if he revives. She's going to help with that as well. So she is doing some useful stuff. I'm hoping this hits pretty hard. So you've got a good chance to kill somebody and then get that extra turn. So start getting ahead of the enemy team and just putting them on the back foot. They can't revive everyone and you get to destroy them. This passive, I think, is quite good too. The immune to decrease attack is nice, but not super important, I don't think. But really, the 20% more damage is pretty good.
I don't know about that. I think that is really good. I know that if he's like kind of going down the path of a lot of people farm in classic arena at least, and maybe even 1 to 2 teams in tag team arena with a speed team, meaning that you're expecting your first champion to go first and your team to be speed tuned so they don't get cut. So basically, if you go first, your whole team goes and they lose. They don't get a turn. Then, yeah, but at the same time, there's no detriment to having that passive. And there are plenty of scenarios for various levels of player where being immune to decrease attack is awesome. I mean, if you hit a Krisk, he's going to decrease attack you. If you get, cut, or if your team is too slow and Madame Saris goes, she can't be decreased attack. So if she manages to hang on, maybe she one-shots the team, with it, because she gets 2 turns, she gets crack shot, and then her AoE. So I don't know. He said not too great. Maybe he's just being perfectly literal and like he's not too thrilled with that. But I actually really highly value immunity to decrease attack on a nuker.
Good. That's what makes me feel like she likely will hit very hard. 20% bonus damage against nearly everybody. Let's be real.
And the starter Elhain hits pretty damn hard.
Anyone who has as much attack as your nuker is gonna die to basically anything she does anyway, unless they've got massive protection. Crack shot is still gonna kill them almost definitely.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's a really good passive. The aura is also useful. It's ally attack in all battles, so that is useful everywhere, which is great.
Because if you think about it, almost without exception, all the support champions or protection champions or actual defense champions are going to have lower attack than her. And then if you have someone like maybe someone has an blistered out, cracked out Trunda, she's probably not got 7,500 attack and 3 million crit damage, just, casually, along with enough defense and HP to withstand crack shot. So if they have less attack than your Elhain, which hopefully you've built well and has high attack, then the passive kicks in. If they have more attack than her, they probably don't have defensive stats, and she doesn't really even need the passive to one-shot them anyway.
For a lot of people. It can be used in arena. If you're not using her in arena, this is a great one for dungeons, faction crypts, everywhere. It's very, very flexible. Doom Tower, so that's really good. Yeah, let me know what you think. When I compare her to Ronda, I do wonder how their damage is gonna compare. They've got a very similar kit in the sense that they've got big AoE. And
Ronda does good damage, but I feel like we all hope that Elhain as a Void legendary will do more.
Champs have that. We've got an affinity advantage, generally speaking, for Elhain being Void, so no weak hits. But yeah, I don't know. I think this move is really the thing that could set her apart. Yeah. I'm curious what you guys think. I don't think she's obviously as strong as the top tier Void nukers at all. Like, she's no Jorgen.
But they're not going to give them away.
She's not as good as Leorius or Baron or anything like that. But she's got no ignore defense built in, right? She's not quite going to compare. She doesn't have 2 AoEs or anything like that. She doesn't quite compare. But this extra turn thing with a relatively short cooldown on the AoE, I think she's actually going to be a really nice addition.
Yeah, 4 turn and 3 turn on abilities is not bad.
It certainly raised the question, what do you guys think in terms of the other starters? Seeing as Elhain, right, Supreme Elhain is such an arena-focused one, I'm kind of curious what they'll do with the others. So I'd say, for example, with Kayle, I'd love to see Kayle actually just be really PvE-focused, boss-focused. I guess it's kind of Dark Kayle 2.0, but I'm okay with that. But something like with Poisons, maybe bring in Burns or bring in some other sort of debuffs with Dark Kayle.
He's like a wizard, Kyle, so they could do something with Hex maybe. They could make him a like super strong, if not niche, because like I feel like Ninja, for example, boss slayer through and through. Now you can get some utility out of his AoE freeze, but he really, really shines in almost every aspect of his kit except the freeze, because obviously you can't freeze bosses, but they even made that where the skill, his AI knows if he's attacking a boss, and the skill does a different thing, which is awesome. And I don't know if any other champion in Raid even has that, where it's like against waves, basically, or multiple enemies. Well, see, I say multiple enemies, but he knows Hydra's a boss too. So it's like against bosses, the skill does this, and it's a good thing that it does. And then against regular enemies, it does something completely different. Also very useful, very rare in the game. So it would be kind of cool to me if they took like the more boss slayer part of Ninja, which you could argue is niche, but incredibly usefully niche. Like you can't necessarily take a champion that's geared toward single target bosses and just put them in arena and just go to town. So what if he was like, I don't even know if they would make him a Hydra specialist, but Supreme Kyle or whatever, I don't know if they're going to call him all Supreme. Supreme Kyle could be just like a really hex-oriented extra damage, maybe extra turns or turn meter to himself from debuffs popping or combining hex with poison. That would be really cool. Like also fit the lore, because I think he, like, if I remember his lore correctly, the way he became Dark Kyle when they released Dark Kyle as a Doom Tower fragment champion was by studying under like sorcerers or something like that.
But have him sort of focus on debuffs. That'd be pretty cool. With Aethel, for example, because all the starter champions are kind of just AoE nukers.
And I can't be the only one that I don't necessarily have like a soft spot for Gallic in my, raid heart. But if he was some type of berserker, I mean, even in the tutorial for the game, I think he like jumps on one of the ads in like the simulated gameplay with 2 axes, and he looks like a Viking berserker. Like if they made him a berserker, there's just like they've definitely killed it with some of the animations and the mechanics, and even things like Rhonda having the passive ability to spontaneously or randomly join an ally with a multi-hitter skill, like as an ally attack that isn't a skill for anyone there. She just can randomly join someone if it procs. That kind of stuff is cool, and they could do something so cool with like a Supreme, Gallic who's like this berserker type, just damage machine. That would be badass.
They're kind of arena nukers, basically, with Kale bringing some poisons. But the starters are all really similar. I'd love to see more variety here. Like with Aethel, I'd love to see her come in and maybe be another counterattack champion. How cool would that be? Aethel coming in as like a team counterattack, kind of more focused on protecting your team, debuffing the enemy, more of that sort of paladin vibe, right? Sword and shield protecting.
I hadn't thought about that.
That'd be kind of cool.
Make her like a tank paladin type.
Still good for some arena too.
That could be cool.
Maybe Galek could be like a big single target nuker compared to Elhain being kind of AoE. It'd just be cool to see some nice diversity. So I'm intrigued to see where they go. I think that Supreme Elhain is pretty cool. I think it kind of captures the essence as well of what the original Elhain did, being sort of the best arena starter by a little bit.
And agreed.
A little bit of this, double hit A1 and some, not extra turns, but a couple of AoEs. She kind of doesn't have a couple of AoEs, but the extra turn, getting back to the AoE quicker, gives her a bit of that vibe. I think it's good. But yeah, guys, look, thank you for watching. Like I said, hopefully I'll be back making videos more regularly.
So he's talking about channel stuff now. That's basically his kind of analysis, if you will, of this champion. I think she looks great. I'm definitely participating in the event, and I'm looking forward to getting her. I'm actually really excited. She's gonna probably be fun to use. I think maybe even more fun than she looks on paper, and she's going to speed up my High Elf Faction War crypt farm quite a bit. But I mean, yeah, that's my reaction, guys. I kind of just go through, and if I feel led to explain something or kind of comment and almost make it like not quite a conversation, but go off of what Nub is saying and then add my 2 cents. And for me, because I have seen a little bit of scuttlebutt, if you will, in the raid community about her not being good. Some people are obviously just difficult to please, but I think she's quite good. I think some people will go for her because they like Elhain, or maybe they started the game with Elhain. I actually didn't, but I really like Elhain, and I think if I went back, there's a high likelihood that I would pick Elhain just because of how valuable she was in arena and how valuable farming arena is early. But I don't know if there's a whole lot more to say. Like, I think that she ignores some cool buffs that will make her quite powerful in a lot of scenarios, at least on offense, maybe not as much defense, but most attack, based champions aren't the best on defense unless you have a really good protector. But it's going to be really cool, I think, for a lot of accounts that are just starting out or lower, or maybe haven't been lucky on pulls. Maybe they're not even quite into the mid game yet. To get her is going to be kind of crazy. It's just going to be really cool for them to have a void legendary. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you think that you'll go for her. What do you think about her skills? What do you think about her value for your account? What part of the game are you playing, and does that affect whether or not you think she's good? But I mean, if you got something from it, like the video for me, and if you want to see this, kind of mix of reaction and maybe like guides and information on Ray, teaching you guys how to play better, especially low spend and, early to mid game players, hit the subscribe button for me. I would really appreciate it. And if you're pulling this weekend for the 2-time Sacreds or, just to fulfill the event for this champion fusion, happy pulling, guys. Check y'all next time.